This took so long to set up, like my goodness. And anyways, I am done with dinner. Done doing the other things I had to do. So I should be able to at least finish this. Maybe I can stream for like an hour, hopefully. Not certain about it though, but I can hope. So we're just gonna get into this. What's up, Elden Ring? Welcome to the stream. So right now I'm making a map for a Maddie True. Why does the thumbnail look like that? Alright, well, that's fine. Alright, so. What's up, Maddie True? Welcome to the stream. Also, welcome to the stream, Elden Ring. I forgot to say that. My mistake. But anyways, I'm making a map for Maddie True. That stands for Multi-Animator Project, for those of you that are either watching currently or watching this after the stream has concluded. Alright, so this is basically just the plot line. We're just gonna do this. That's the idea of it. And then I'm going to just draw my own character along with 10 right here. So let's just have them be, since green is usually the 10, let's just have them be around this color, and that could be good. And I feel like I'm gonna make the lines more thick today, so let's increase the line usage to 4. Could be thicker, but that's good enough for me right now. Alright, so I'm thinking I'm going to do Charmander or Charizard. I think that's the coolest looking one, at least that I think. So I'm going to do that first. And let's just have it go kind of like this. Alright. This is like standing out a bit too much, so let's just blend it in a little bit. There we go. Alright, so I hope that like I'm hoping that I can get to like 10,000. What is that? 1 second, please. I'm back. Was this a hole? I thought it was a bug. Anyways, it was actually animated for my, since I'm using an animation reference. Did you see the map call on my channel? I sure did. Alright, so let's go ahead and finish off this right here. Now, personally, what the heck? What did I? Oh, I made a mistake. Alright, let me just go ahead and do this. But yeah, I saw it. It seems pretty neat. Alright, so let's go ahead and put that here, here, and here. In the reference image I have here, he only has one eye, but I like having like extra just pop out, so I'm just gonna have it be like that. You think we'll be joining? I don't think so. Like, I have a lot of stuff that I want to animate, so I'm just gonna like focus on that. But I am gonna finish that other map first that I promised to make. And then I'm going to do some of my own stuff. But I'll pop back in if I see like a map that piques my interest a bit more. But that does seem cool though. So let me go ahead and do the nose like this. This image might be AI. Alright, let me try to find a different image. Because that guy's nose look all kinds of effed up. And I just don't think he would look like that. Alright, so alright, this one, oh gosh, the seems barely move. Alright, there we go. Now this nose looks better. Okay, so we're gonna do it like so, like so. Gonna have this here. It's gonna have this here. Actually, no, not quite. Let's actually decrease the eraser because I'm gonna need that a lot since I'm using references. And so let's do that. That's good enough. And anyways, let's see. All right, now I see the issue. All right, there we go. And so this is fixed right now. And this is looking a lot better right now. So let's go ahead and do that here, this there. We just connect the lines first before erasing it. I see you doing Charizard. You doing your OC with him since this one is your OC with your favorite Pokemon? I sure am. I'm going to draw Charizard first because since I really draw like other folks' characters, I don't draw them too often. So I really need a reference with it, so I have to focus on the reference. Then I could just do my own thing later on. But as of right now, I need to also move this eyeball right here because it needs to be closer to the center of his head. It's not really like that in the image, but I just prefer it this way. Anyways, that should be good. Let's do that here. She needs to be wearing an outfit of your favorite Pokemon trainer. Alright. I would do Team Rocket. Because I'm a kind of villain guy that likes the villains. So let's go ahead and do this right here. And so right here will be the inside of the mouth. Excuse me. Alright, so we're gonna do that here. Let's also do this. Outer Wild music is just so relaxing. Alright, so let's go ahead and do that. Add more of the bottom lower jaw here. Then have it through. I know the word for it is somewhat accurate, but not. I don't think that's quite the word I'm looking for. His nose is a bit stubby, but I kind of like the look of it, so I'm just gonna keep it. Because this guy does not have that kind of nose. It's much longer, like a crocodile. Alright, so let's go ahead and add this. Let's see. Did the trainer Red from the original Pokemon game, Pokemon Red. Alright, that's cool. Alright, so since the map for this should be relatively good, relatively easy, I should ideally be able to finish this on stream. If I do, I also have like a bit of the comic to work on too. But that's only if I finish it. This neck is not looking very nice. Alright, that's better. Alright, so this neck is better now. And so let's do that. So let's have him go kind of like this. His elbows seem to be relatively normal, so we're just gonna do that. For some reason, like in my head, I always thought it was gonna be like kind of like a I don't know the word for it, like a bump, bow-legged. I don't know the exact words, but it's something similar to that. Anyways, for those of you who were not here yesterday, I actually did a pretty cool live stream where I made a whole bunch of like SpongeBob OCs. So basically, I made like SpongeBob in a whole bunch of different art styles, and one of them was actually the How to Train Your Dragon universe. But the outcome ended up looking like a Pokemon, which I think is pretty cool. Alright, so let's see. How does that look? Alright, that looks kind of like that. So this is kind of like a shoulder blade going on right here. Right, and let's have his chubby belly right here. And just have the arm go kind of like this. Then the other one go kind of like this. So that's good there. Let's do this here. Actually, let's just change it a little bit. Just to move this about here. And that should help a lot. Because it wasn't looking too right there where it was before. There we go. That's much better. Since you're doing Team Rocket Grunt Trainer, your Charizard should look evil. Alright. So we got this right here. So let's make this finger just a tad thicker, like at the bottom. Because I feel like it needed to just be that way. But yeah, hopefully, if anyone is watching in the short side of things, that you're actually seeing a fair amount of the screen, because I can't really see the short section, so YouTube just loves censoring stuff from its creators. So that's a unfortunate turn. So let me go ahead, and I don't really see the twins' eyes right now, but I'm just gonna make it like this. Give it a nice little pointy pupil, like so. Alright, so got that right there. Got oh, didn't finish this hand. So let me just erase this. I wonder if I should do them in separate layers. Yeah, I think I will. Alright, so let's just do that. My character is gonna be here, so I don't need to put too much right there. Alright, let's actually add the bottom line right here. You drunk for real, for real? Nah, I just sound like that. What comes after 9? 911. Alrighty then. Welcome to the stream, both of y'all. Alright, so let's go ahead and do this right here. Oh, it's that kind of number. Well, I guess that's that then. By the way, I remember that day. Yeah, it was crazy. So anyways, let's see. The heck was that sound? Alright, anyways, yeah, that was one wild day. 110, I don't know if they should teach about it in schoolworks by now, I hear. But 110 is they had like so many planes like flying like at the bottom. By the bottom level, I mean like just a few feet off the ground. Where like if you toss a ball up in the air, you could probably hit one. You probably shouldn't. They probably would have shot you dead because they were just flying all over the place with guns. My folks just decided, nope, if we're gonna die, we're dying home. So we just stayed home after we saw that. So that was that. But hey, I forget if I was alive or barely in existence, but it was one of them. So, anyway, let's go ahead and get this color scheme of this Charizard done right here. I always forget if it's Charizard or Charmander. They're both kind of the same because like they evolve from like the same creature, but still the difference is important. And he's not quite that pale. He's around that just about. At least in this, sorry, accidentally punched my microphone. Right, at least in this picture. Oh, I accidentally did that part. So let's go ahead and do that to the blue. Quiet. Let's make that yellow and do that here. I really feel like his neck should be that way too, but that's not how the design is. So we're just gonna keep it the way it is in the artistic vision. All right, so let's go ahead and do that here. That's good. Let's just change this to blue for right now so I can make sure I filled everything in correctly. And then I'll change it to white after. Because there's a white background, but it would be just easier to do it this way. So let's do that, this, and this. Like so. Then I'm gonna switch it to white. There we go, and that's good. So actually good. As Charizard, third evolution of Charmander. Alright, that's good to know. Alright, so I just need to add the wins behind it. And I should be relatively done. Oh, my back. Okay. Oh, before I forget, let's make this white. So let's make this like slightly yellowish, slightly pinkish, so I can remember. Actually, I don't think I'm gonna need that, so let's just keep it. So let's go ahead and put this right on over here, right over yonder. Right, so that's good right there. And then let's add this. Right, so let's see here. Right, let's actually do this by the points. So it seems like there's just 2 points here. So let's do that. Right, let's change out this song. Right. Just 1 moment, please. Right, I am back. I am back. Let's see. Charizard is also my favorite Pokemon, so it looks like there'll be 2 Charizards of the map. Alright, that is cool. So let me go ahead. Put this here, and last one's going to be here. And I think I did that pretty much correctly. Just got the inside of his wings are green, so it's a nice dark green. Let's say I like it. So let's do something like that, and then can make it just slightly darker for the ridges. I'm gonna see if I can like do it stylistically. I know I can't, so I don't know why I'm bothering, but it's important to at least try some new things as an artist every once in a while. And so, like, instead of just doing the lines on the ridge like I normally would, I'm just doing this so I can have like a shadow, so it adds like a sense of depth. That could work. Alright. Let me just try one more thing here. It's so loud. Anyways, let's see. I don't know if I like the light green in it. Does have an interesting look, at least in the middle, but I think I'll just leave it like that. And then just add one more here, and that would be pretty good. It's about his... Oh my. And I forget his other beak right there. When Tenor I should say, that's the proper term for it, I believe. Alright, so I have some wins there, and there we have Charizard. Not exactly sure how long it took, but it should be fine. And don't forget the flame on the tip of his tail. Why doesn't this picture have that? Alright, well, let's just add that too. I don't think you was will see that since my character is going to be in the way, but let's just add it anyway. Because that's would just make it a little bit more authentic. Alright, so let's just do that right here. Let's just do this here. And that here. And that's pretty good for a flame. This specific character also reminds me of an alien from Lilo and Stitch. I think I'm gonna like draw it from memory, but like let me just show you real quick. It's just a little sketch, so don't expect anything too good looking. Alright, so this is how the alien looks from Lilo and Stitch. We got this here. That's his teeth. And here's his mouth. Let's do that like so. And he had like two horns, like kind of like that, but what was different with him is he had this like around his body. You probably know if you've seen Lilo and Stitch, the series, you probably know what alien I'm talking about. This is just a quick sketch. I'm not going to try to make it look good. I'm just showing you how it looks basically. And then there were these tree like stuff that shot lava off of its back. I think they called him Splody Head, or there were two or three lava-based aliens, from what I recall in that series. And they all had basically the same power. So Splody Head was one of them. I don't know which one, but it was one of them. So we're just gonna go with that. Yeah, he just had that power. Shot those fireballs like so. And so just wanted to show y'all that real quick. Alright, so that's basically a rough sketch of it. And yeah, let's get it out of here. Does look kind of neat though. Anyways, delete. The fire and flying Pokemon. One of the horns on his head. I got that. And alright. Here we go. Alright, I'm all caught up on the chat now. And I think I've completed this one right here. No, I stretched his arm enough. By stretched, I mean curled up. Right, so now that he's like basically there, let's go ahead and add a little something to my own character, which is Team Rocket. Excuse me. You know, I always forget if Team Rocket, if they were lovers or they were siblings. I'm pretty sure they were lovers, but I haven't seen the show in a hot minute, so I'm not certain. Talking the original ones, at least I think they were the original. They were the ones I saw. Right, but anyways, let's go ahead and do my character with them. All right, and now let's draw the teeth. All right, there are a few ways to draw the teeth, but I'm just gonna do it like this for right now. All right, so method one is kind of like this. I could also draw each of them individually if I want it to look a little bit more ragged and stuff. And for now, so I don't get confused, let's actually change the black lines to a different color. So let's just change that to that. So I can see my own one for right now, and let's also change that music. Alright, there we go. Let's have this eye a little bit bigger. Let's see, should this guy still be wearing his hat? Team Rocket doesn't really wear a hat, but let's just go ahead and do this and have him go kind of like this. Let's also add a little bit of this to my character. Hey, I completely forgot about the outfit. Whoops. Alright, so I'm gonna need to make myself a little bit more thick so I can actually wear the outfit. There we go, that's thick enough. So let's go ahead and do this and this. And then I'm just gonna have it be a little bit thicker. Right here and here. Right. Oh, did that R pretty good. Alright, so we got that right here. This looks very cool. Thank you, Wyatt. Glad they said that. Also, welcome to the stream. Alright, so we got this right here and this right here. Oh yeah, I also made Charmander. I mean Charizard. Even if it was Charmander, I mispronounced the name. Alright, so anyways, I gotta give these guys gloves. So let's actually give him like real proper gloves right now. Alright, so let's go ahead and erase this. So let's do this, that, and that. Let's also change out the music one more time. Good enough for right now. These gloves kind of remind me of Invader Zim gloves, at least the way that he wears it. Right, so anyway, I'm just wondering if I should just have my character wear a hat or not. Shoot. Goodness gracious. Alright. Anyways. Okay. Alright, so let's give him a little belt buckle right here. And this right here. So yeah, just made like my channel logo right there. And since he's in a different costume, I figured I would probably leave the head off today. And I can't remember the exact rules, but I think it said no blood in the video itself. So I'm going to just leave the blood out. Because, in case you don't know, there's always blood like leaking from his mouth. Literally all the time. Right, so let's also get some gray up in here. And then just gonna get some dark purple. A little bit lighter. The last but not least, the red, because we need to identify Team Rocket right there. But not too vibrant of a red, so just gonna do that. And then, last but not least, let's make the teeth white. Let's make the eye shiny. Alright, so got that right here. What's this even from? Alright, I am back. So, here we are. So I think this is looking pretty good. Just play the music a bit. Alright, so those of you that are animators, this map is like really easy. All you have to do is just a couple of frames and you're basically golden. And the frames are just moving their arm up and down, but I'm gonna be extra because I'm like that. Just a little bit extra. Alright, so got one of each right here. And since now it stands out, let's go ahead and give this back its black coloring. Oh, I like it, so let's make it just slightly red. Yeah, that works. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. So we got this right here. Let's do slight duplicate, and then just have, I'm gonna have my character bend down a bit. In fact, just erase the whole bottom half of him almost. Still here, by the way, just listening. Glad to hear it, Alden Wren. Alright, so got all of this right here. So let's have his hands go kind of like this. And like this. Thumbs should be a little bit thicker. That's better. Alright, so we got all of that right here. Right, so all of that is good. Right? Alright, for a second I thought I colored one of his teeth orange, which would not have been something I wanted. And so just touching out a finger, that could be like a Chinese just sticking his finger out while dancing. Right, so that's looking good right there. Let's also add a bit of bounce to the antenna. So let's do the other side now, which is the char manager. And then we'll basically be kind of done for now for this one. Let's see, what shall I do? This one's take a hot minute, so I'm just gonna leave them as is. Right. This one still seems to be alright, so that's good. Feeling a tad sleepy again. See if I can get some different. I feel sleepy. Not hard on the chat name. And let's just have Charizard suck that out of his right now. So that's good like that. Alright, let's just see if they match up to the song. I wonder if there's a key to delete like the speed of the animation software. Just to delete the speed like of the thing. Still caught up on the chat. Gotta go tablets, gonna good night. On my tablet right now, so I got to go to school tomorrow. Alright. Good night, manager. Alright, so I basically finished this one. Let's just see how it looks, and then I'll post it maybe tomorrow. Now let's change the fire. Then let's also change up some of the other stuff too. I feel like it could use like an in-between frame. I think that could help a lot because it seems just a bit too choppy for me. Even though it's fine, but hey, you got me some standards right here. So let's just do that. And so first things first, let's give Charmander an entirely different fire. Charizard. Right, so that's good. Yeah, I think I'm probably gonna do just an additional frame between the two. And cut. So, what's this? This. So, just gonna have like just a transition frame. It's not gonna be much. It's just this. Did my stream crash? Hopefully not. should have copied the auto frame, but hey, that's fine. Sorry, I hit the microphone. So, that's better. Then I should have used like the arm from there, so I'm gonna use it. So that's a better transition thing, so yeah, that's good. Decided to just make him slightly bigger. And that should just do basically everything. Now this guy. I finished the transition animations, finished just about everything. Alright, there we go. This transition scene is a lot better. In fact, let's just solidify the result by doing that. So it's kind of an ease in, ease out situation right there, and it should be good. And get rid of this extra bit. And now let's play. Alright, let's put it up for a vote. I just let out the poll. So y'all just choose amongst yourselves. A is going to be for animated background for a different thing, or C is for the comic. So, whichever one, just let me know. The comic might turn into an animation too one day, so that's that. I am going to just give you a few seconds to decide, and I'll be right back. I am back. It seems like y'all have chose like the comic option, so that's cool. Well, let's do the comic. Let's go ahead and turn that down just a tad, and then head on over to do the comic right now. And let's go. This is Skinny Mama. Now, like, for the font, for some reason, like, it just stays big. Like, I want it to be, like, thick, like, right here, but instead it stays big. Like, by big, I mean, see-through. And I don't want that. So, I think I'm gonna fix that. I don't know how, but maybe I could just do it in Krita and then ship it to the Artisan and that would do something. I don't know if it will work, but it will be worth a try. But yeah, this would be basically making backgrounds too, so yeah, I guess I kind of tricked y'all to watching the background making thing. Hey, that's fine. But I actually imported the font, if I remember correctly, so Let me just scroll down. I made none of these fonts. I only made 2 of them. Alright, so this one should be a little bit lower. Actually, no, it's a little higher. If I imported it, I'm not sure if I did. It would be here if it did, so I guess I did not just yet. Okay, so that's that. Alright, well, I didn't do it yet, but I can do it with 75 right here. Boom. And I'm just gonna do a couple lines such as this. The line's just gonna be that, and it should have a decent mirror effect if I do it correctly. And then let's just do a black line over it so I can make sure I got it right. And I did. Excellent. Alright, so that should make a wood texture if I did it right. I likely didn't, but let's just go for it. And so that's how it looks no mirror, and let's see how it looks with a... it's not what I was looking for. Even more not what I was looking for, so let's just go with no mirror. That looks the best. Right. Wish I could like offset it a little more, but hey, that's fine. That works. Let's just make the planks a tad bigger. Do they have like planks upstairs? I don't know. But it should be fine. Yeah, the stream is lagging a bit, but hopefully y'all don't mind that too much. Right, so we got that right here. Usually the walls would be kind of painted, so let's just do that. Like so. Yeah, let's just make it a bit darker for over there. And why not? Let's just add some sky stuff to like just make it a tad more moody. Right, so it seems like this is mostly a pink modifier that I have here. So let's just add that. Add a little bit of this. Then just make it go wild. Should like layer everything, but alright, we're gonna go do that here. And you ever just notice something? and you know it's gonna bother you. Alright, so let's fix this. Right, so because I just noticed this in an angle, and I know some houses are like that, but I just feel like I gotta try to fix it at least. So just do that here. Erase this. Cut. Then I can probably... I could probably add like the lines manually, so... I doubt it would work out very well here, but let's try it. Yeah, knew that wouldn't work. Oh, that's a cool design though, but not quite what I'm looking for. Ooh. Ooh. Hold up. That looks nice. Alright. All that extra sky stuff is just dumb. So I'm just gonna get rid of it. Alright, much better. So let's just add that to there and make it a ticker line. Just wanted a slightly different color, so that should be good. Flood Plains kind of reminds me a bit of Nimona, if you've ever seen that. Alright, so let's actually have a picture here. Let's go into building for this one though. Alright, let's go to 5. I think I can get away with like using a shape here. Oh my gosh. Let's see. Yeah, that could work. Kind of want this to be a bit bigger on one side because this is a bit too thin, so I guess I'm just gonna have to do it manually. Alright, so we got all of this right here. Alright, just gotta erase a whole bunch of these painting lines here. I'm surprised I finished an animation that quickly. That usually never happens. I think I only did one like that once in my whole animation career. Like finishing an animation in a day. Unheard of. Alright, let's have the people be there. Do that in the people section. And so let's see. Trying to make one of those like old family portraits. And so we got that. Alright, so that kind of worked. Let's do it at like that. A little bit lower. And so let's get the transparency of that about here.
toads, gonna be a bumpy road. Flash for snacks, words for lunch. I think I actually love this song. It's no big deal, yeah, no big deal.
Alright, so let's simulate it. This kind of looks more like one of those backgrounds for like a school portrait, but good enough. It's close enough for what I'm going for. Alright, so I got all of that here.
It's no big deal, yeah, no big deal. Find a way to start again. Brush off the frost and make some friends. It's no big deal, yeah, no big deal. I feel at home in a place that shouldn't be real. Crazy, strange, but it's no big deal. Crazy, strange, but it's no big deal. Eating flies, but it's no big deal. Finally me, and it's no big deal.
So that's good like that. So let's actually have a picture of the actual family. That could be a good way of introducing. Alright, let's use this color here. Alright, so let's just draw the father randomly. So we're just gonna give him his ears like right here. let's actually have a little tip right here. Let's get this one here for reference. This is around how small he's gonna be, so we're gonna just do that there. Then I'm going to make the human version that this character replaced. The Skinwalker. So we're gonna just do that right here. Let's give her some air holes. Kinda did her dirty with those ears, but that's fine. Let's see, I could replace the ears. I could, but no, I'm not going to do that. Notice how C has bones because he's a human, while this one does not. And anyways, let's go ahead and do that. And so let's have this one also go kind of like this. And so let's give this one some spiky here. Actually, let's give him like kind of like a mullet type of thing. That'd be kind of funny. Alright, so let's do that. That, that's a good mark to have right there. So let's just have that like that. Not sure what color hair they should have. No, her hair is gonna be orange, so let's just go ahead and make it that way. I don't know if I should redo the ears because those ears look tore up, but that could be funny. I don't know. Maybe. I'll probably just put it in a poll later. Since chat's like relatively dead. Still got viewers though, but that's still kind of dead. Alright, so let's just have like a chair right here. Let's have this one sit here so he's part of the photo too. Alright, so let's do this. And so that's good like that. So let's do the arms. So it's kind of like that. Okay, so the head should be kind of similar to the mother's.
We'll meet again, don't know where, don't know when, but I know we'll meet again some sunny day. Keep smiling through, just like you do, always do, till the blue skies drive the dark clouds far away. So will you please say hello to the folks that I know, tell them I won't be long. They'll be happy to know that as you saw me go, I was screaming this song. We'll meet again, don't know where, don't know when, but I know we'll meet again.
Let's just have him like missing a tooth in that picture.
From the bloody talk to casting magic with just some chalk. Oh, come on now, what is next day? Talking rock. In your journey you met good friends and a new pet. Wherever you may go, you fought a hive mind AI, a very angry old slime, and a talking Dorito.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for coming tonight to our show. We're glad we got to spend some time with you all, from the frogs to the demons and those witches at the back. Let's run that one more time, yeah? All right, folks.
So how about that? A big finale, the best for last. So we hope that you've enjoyed and had a blast.
So that's be good for drawing two brothers and their mother and their father. I don't know why I worded it that way, but I did.
Farewell, my good friends, thanks for the best of days. I hope we meet again someday. I know we'll meet again some sunny day.
Let's not have her have too many curves. So let's just do that and that. Let's do this right here. So let's get their skin colors up in here. Let's have the hair get much more brown. Kind of like this. I kind of want to make his hair black, but feels a bit too black, you know? Why not? Let's make it around that brown. I think I will name him Takihama. Why? I do not know. Let's do that here and this here. Give her like hot pink lipstick right there. Let's give her like a yellow dress. This is meant to be a dress rather than a shirt this time. So let's actually change this to light blue. I feel like that might be difficult to animate later. Like, this guy has a bit too many facial features, so he's just gonna have that. So that works. By the way, his pupils are covered due to a flash. Excuse me. I think I'm probably gonna call it a day. Not sure how long I've been streaming for. I've been doing so for almost 2 hours. Let's just make it a full 2 then. I'll keep going. So right now the father is grabbing onto the stool to make sure he's safe. That's a nice little family portrait right there. I do say so myself. So let's go ahead, do that, and also get rid of this. So it's quite obviously behind the wall. And then get rid of this as well. I enjoy making backgrounds. And so we got all of this right to here. And that's a fine door. Let's have this just to simplify. It's like a doorknob because it's kind of shiny. So should be pretty neat if I do a face for myself with all these doorknobs and stuff. I think those doors are just fine as they are. Alright, so see, I don't know if it blends in a bit too much. I mean, this is a lot of yellow, but I think that's fine. I should have this in the background too, so let's go on over to here. Copy once again. And let's go to the panel background, do this. That was dumb of me. Anyways, let's do that again. This time let's do the fill tool. Zoom it in like so. Just so the stuff is closer to him. Then I'm actually going to blur it a little bit. So let's do that. Gaussian, that's my favorite to blur. There are many other blurs like it, but that's the one I prefer. Right, that's good right there. You can still easily make it out. Oh, I'm gonna head on out now. So that's it for now. If you enjoyed this, press the like button, subscribe, and until next time.